Oh. Here. Extremely comfortable. Ready?
Go ahead. Ready to go?
I'm ready.
Ready? Go for it.
We're a minute ahead of time. Let's do it.
Is there anything wrong with starting early?
No.
It is 6:59. I'd like to call to order the July 11th, 2024 Perrysburg Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have a roll call, please.
Chairman Stark, Vice Chairman Mulligan,
Here.
Board Member DeWitt,
Here.
Board Member Lyons.
Yes.
Awesome. Can we invite Nicole up here as an alternate? Agenda item number 3 is consideration for approval of the June 13th, 2024 minutes as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call vote, please.
Board Member DeWitt. Yes. Board Member Lyons,
Yes.
Board Member Larrabell.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Agenda item 4, public comments. We will have public comment for each of the 3 appeals filed, so this is just a general sort of public comment time. Seeing no one wants to make any comments, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. Oop, yes. Nope, you can make them for each of the appeals that are filed today. It's going to be right as we go through the list of them, so as we work through these. Agenda item number 5 is public hearing for a request filed by Dirk Heineman to permit a 4-foot-high fence pool enclosure instead of the required 5-foot-high fence pool enclosure, a variance from zoning ordinance section 3.90R. The parcel is described as number 7003-08473-006, commonly known as 17988 Cherokee Drive. All right, please come on up and.
All right. Can you? Yeah, you guys can hear me. I'm sorry. Name and address.
Yeah.
I'm Gail Heineman, 17988 Cherokee Drive. So the reason why we're appealing it is because of the cover. We have a safety cover, and it's the safest cover that you can have out there. And the reason why we're doing it is because of our dogs. Our dogs have access to the backyard. We have dog doors, and they're out there all the time, and we don't want them in the pool. We don't want anybody in the pool when we're not there. So you can actually walk. Mr. Lyons came out, I think, Tuesday?
Yeah, I believe it was Tuesday.
Yep, and came out, and he actually saw a child walking on it, and it's a covered switch that's under the deck, and then it's locked. We have a key for it, and we keep the key in the house. So, and that's the main reason why we got it. And the company that installed it, they said it's basically a horizontal fence. It's like a 15-foot horizontal fence, and the way it is. And you can't get anything safer than that. I know, like Grand Haven Township, which is 5 houses down, I don't even need a fence. I can just have that cover. City Grand Haven allows it. Village of Spring Lake allows it. Grand Haven Township allows it. Perrysburg is the only one in this area that does not allow that. And it complies with the regulations and state and national regulations. In fact, I have it's called the American Society of Testing of Materials. It's a document, and it's for hot tubs and pools. That pool cover will withstand 485 pounds. So I can go on it, my husband can go on it, and our dogs. Our dogs almost fell in the pool when we were in it. So that's the main reason. We want to keep people out. We don't want to keep them in. So that's why we got it. I got the information. I don't know if you guys want a copy of it. If you don't, that's fine. If you do, I have it.
No, we have a copy of it.
You have
in our
this?
packet. Yes.
Okay,
thank
I
you.
wasn't sure if that was included in the packet. Dirk didn't tell me.
No.
So yeah, and so and then for the city, city township, they have right on their permit applications that pool cover complies with it, and same with the village. And it's part of they amended the zoning ordinance to comply with that.
Did your contractor, the pool contractor, make you aware of the city ordinance prior to installing the pool for you?
You would have to ask Dirk that question. Dirk took care of that with him.
Okay,
I was not involved in that conversation.
all right.
Any other questions?
Your Honor. So obviously you didn't investigate prior to building the pool.
What do you mean building a pool?
Before
The-
you had the pool put in, your pool people should have come to the city and got a copy of the ordinance.
That I'm not sure about. I mean, we trusted him. I know he filled out all the paperwork for the permits, and that's all I really know.
It doesn't matter what the state law says or the townships do, our ordinance is specific, 5 foot, period. The reason for that is you may be diligent in putting the pool cover on. What happens when you sell the house? The next people don't. Some kid crawls over the fence and drowns in your pool. If we allow the variance, the city's gonna be on the hook. for a
So what
fee.
does it
So-
take to amend that then? Because all the other cities amended their ordinance, their variances, they amended it. So what does it take to amend it?
It'd be a text amendment by the planning commission. And they've already looked at this? They did review it at June meeting and did not have any interest in changing the zoning ordinance.
And that was not in the meeting minutes, when we looked at the meeting minutes.
That's correct. It will be revised to include that. So the planning commission looked at it and refused to amend it, correct? Correct. Okay, so what we're stuck with is the law is the law.
What would the procedure be, Craig, to include the pool cover thing as an amendment or an addition to our ordinance?
The planning commission will make a text amendment and make a recommendation to city council.
Mhm. And then the city council would have to put it in front of the voters, correct? Have it changed, or could it just be changed by the city council?
It would be changed by city council.
Okay.
The problem with that, Joe, is the planning commission already looked at it and refused to amend it.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Can it be brought back to them? Like, can we go to their meeting?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Well, I just didn't know if we could go back and then just talk to them
Right.
ourselves to make sure they have all the correct information.
Yeah.
This is probably a question for Craig, but how was this permit like allowed with it not in meeting the ordinances?
The pool permit?
Yeah.
So Mr. Heineman came in April and indicated that he wanted a variance for a 4-foot fence around his pool. We've had another request like that, similar request to have just the pool cover instead of a fence. So at that time, I indicated to Mr. Heineman we would hold on to it, the variance ZBA application, and we would take that to the planning commission to review if they would amend the ordinance. So we did that. The city planner drafted a text amendment. Planning commission looked at it and at that time indicated that they were not interested in changing the zoning ordinance, so here we are.
Okay.
Can I interject there? We have an email from your assistant stating that we can get our money back from that or put it towards our pool permit because it looked like they were going to pass it. We have that email. That was from your assistant.
I'll look at it, sure.
And when, when the person that owns the pool company came in, everybody was excited because it was going to get, amended. And that's what my husband said too.
That isn't what they voted, though.
I'm just telling you what I was told. Like I said, I wasn't there. This is what I've been told.
Any further? Anyone else have any comments or anything at the time? Or come on
Mr.
up,
Cade.
please. Stand and then state your name and address for the record, please.
Bill Kate, 17468 Dunewood Court, Unit C. When it comes to ordinances that involve aesthetics or architectural requirements, design such as setback requirements, the placement of structures on a piece of property or line of sight issues or other such things, I believe there is room for negotiation. A recent case in point was the application for a variance involving a proposed residential development on Smith's Bayou, which both this board and city council approved. But no part of the requested variances in that case involved safety. The variance request before you now may be about appearances, I don't know, but I don't know why a 4-foot instead of a 5, but it's very much an issue of safety. Guarantees about the pool cover notwithstanding, when it comes to the safety of this community's children and the prevention of an accidental drowning, I say the higher the fence, the better. In short, I oppose this variance request. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Was there another gentleman here?
Yes.
Front and center.
As far as, what the gentleman just said here, I don't know about other pools in the neighborhood.
For the record, we need your name and address, please.
Yeah, sorry, Harold Emmons, 18004 Cherokee Drive. Next door neighbors to Dirk and Gail.
Okay.
So I was gonna do a pool check, so I went over to Woodland Ridge this morning, and at 7 o'clock, no one was around. I measured their fence. It's 6 foot tall. It's this wide, and I wondered, how could I get in there? They didn't have a pool. I thought, what if I want to go swimming? So I went to the edge of the building, and there's a concrete slab right here, and I could climb on that, grab the top, and hop over the fence and take a dip. So 6 foot, 5 foot, 4 foot, 3 foot. If you have a will, there's a way to get in. So that wasn't in my notes. I have a question, just one question. Who on the zoning board has ever eaten sardines out of a can? Anybody? Are you brave enough? I mean, they stink. Your wife lets you eat them in the house, or she send you to the garage, or you do it when you're deer hunting?
Reluctantly.
Are you admitting that you have?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not a chance.
Then I submit this to you as evidence.
Do I have to eat them now?
No, you can do what you want. They're a gift, and once you give a gift away, you have no control over what happens.
All right, thank you. This is lunch.
I feel like you get another can because it's good flavor. I haven't seen folks. So I'll get back to the sardine thing in a minute. I've chopped my notes down to 1 page instead of 3. My wife said I talk too much for an old geezer. So anyway, I'll return back to the sardines. So you know that they're seeking a variance for the 520-foot long, 4-foot high fence, which goes way up and around and what have you. I was interested in page 4F, the last paragraph, because I think there's an answer I see there for Gail and Dirk. I'm at this section right here, 4F, the last page of their application for a variance. That the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. There's been pro and con interest shown here so far. And that the spirit of the ordinance shall be observed. I think the spirit of the ordinance has come up. Some unresolved things maybe, I'm not certain, but it seems like it to me. Public safety secured, that's been talked about by Gail. But here's the clincher, I think, and substantial justice done for both the applicant, Gail, and other property owners in the district. One would be me, but I'm more concerned about Gail than me. So substantial justice, what might that be? It would be that fairness in the way people are treated, a reasonable decision. I wondered about ordinances as far as speeding or in this town, the speed limits. So I just checked around this morning. Within a close area, I found 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, and underneath the bridge on Ridge Avenue that goes right past here, you can go 70, but you gotta be going that way, not this way. I think if someone went 70 on Ridge Avenue, they probably deserve to go to jail. But that's for the law enforcement officer who's regularly looking for people that are speeding. So anyway, these are ordinances in my opinion. Now they regularly deal with justice. I know a lot of the areas where they can hide easily and it's too late when you speed past them. And there are many times I think that they deal with substantial justice. Sometimes justice, but you might think it's not substantial. So have you ever given a sigh of relief when you went down Van Wagner and you didn't see the cop that's sitting just below the hill with the power station thing there? I have. You don't have to admit it if you have. Have you, Gail? I have. Okay, you don't have to answer that if you have. But I was thinking about that in terms of the ordinance here as far as what is substantial justice. Dirk and Gail installed this powered safety cover on their pool. She has mentioned that. The switch is turned on by a key, and she did not mention that it's 5 foot above the ground where little kids and whatever you can't reach. I suppose they could get a ladder and turn the thing on, but that was an extra precaution as far as when they installed the cover a long ways away from the pool. So the cover is designed, as you know, to hold much more than Gail's weight. I asked her, Gail, I'd like to see you close the pool and climb out. It was fun watching her. You can't walk on top of a cover that's on water. The Lord could, but Gail couldn't. And he can walk on water without having a cover. So anyway, she finally crawled off the cover, and I determined that not even a squirrel could go swimming in that pool without her permission when it's closed. It just seals up like the sardine can. You're probably old enough to know that you used to put a key on it and turn it, not a pop top like on a. I do. I guess I'm older. I do. Do you, Mike?
I wasn't about that far and threw it away.
Oh, no. Okay. Anyway, so anyway, I looked at the cover. It's sealed tightly all over the place. I already mentioned the squirrel invasion. Couldn't. So this safety barrier is becoming very popular in various Michigan cities, villages, and townships. And I know you already have a thing here, an ordinance. And my thought is a 6 foot, 5 foot, 4 foot fence doesn't necessarily provide much safety. I figured even as an old guy, if they had a 6 foot fence, I could easily climb a tree at the back of their property up the hill and hop over and go swimming. I thought of that, but I wouldn't do that. That would not be right, right, Gail? But if you were gone to Florida with Dirk and what have you, and if I was, well, I guess if I was taking care of your dogs, I could use the key. I would need to climb a tree. Okay, so forget that part. So substantial justice, in my opinion, fairness in the way that my neighbors are treated and dealt with. Zoning 4F, as far as their Board of Appeals application, I believe if substantial justice is given, the board would not require them to add another foot to their existing fence and allow a variance. That, to me, would be a reasonable zoning ordinance decision. So, enjoy the sardines.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I will.
Okay, you're welcome very much.
Anybody else? See no further comment, I will close the public hearing at 7:20.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
well, it may seem reasonable to allow a 4-foot fence. We've had this before us probably 8 times in the last 20 years I've been on this board, and we've denied it every time because of the safety factor. I believe if we approve this and someone drowns, the city would be on the hook because we violated our own zoning laws. It's not an ordinance, it's a law. So, would you like it to hear a motion?
I believe we have to read this in the report into the record first, correct?
Please.
All right. This is the report from the city planner. 17988 Cherokee Drive, located in the RG1 zoning district. Recently, a pool was installed in the rear yard, is enclosed with a 4-foot high fence. Mr. Heineman submitted his zoning board of appeals application in April to use the current 4-foot high fence as the pool enclosure instead of the required 5-foot high fence. Staff have received requests in the past to allow pools with a safety cover to be exempt from the fence ordinance. I advised Mr. Heineman I would review this with the Planning Commission at their meeting on June 6th. The Planning Commission reviewed the proposed ordinance to allow pools with a safety cover to be exempt from the 5-foot high fence pool enclosure. At the June 6th meeting, the consensus of the Planning Commission was to not amend the 5-foot high fence requirement in the zoning ordinance due to safety concerns. I advised Mr. Heineman of the Planning Commissioner's actions. Mr. Heineman requested to move forward with his variance to request a 4-foot high fence pool enclosure. Regarding the Heineman request, standards for granting a variance. No variance in the provisions or requirements of this ordinance shall be authorized by the Zoning Board of Appeals unless it is found the evidence that all of the following conditions exist. The compliance with the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties due to exceptional, extraordinary, or unique circumstances or conditions of the land or parcel, such as exceptional narrowness or width or depth of the lot or parcel, or in irregular shape, exceptional natural or topographical features on the lot or parcel, such as steep slopes, water, existing significant trees, or other unique extreme physical conditions of the land. Extraordinary location of an existing building or structure that allows no practical or feasible location for expansion because of the exceptional feature of the land. Other exceptional or extraordinary dimensional conditions or characteristics of the land, lot, or parcel. The property is 250 feet in depth, the standard is met. That unusual circumstances do not apply to most other lots or parcels in the same manner or the same extent to other lots or parcels in the same zoning district. There are 12 parcels on the south side of Cherokee Drive that have a depth greater than 100 feet. The standard is not met. That the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right, the possibility of increased financial return not of itself to be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. There is no impact with either a 4-foot-high or 5-foot-high fence. The standard is not met. That the granting of the variance will not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent or nearby land uses and properties. A 5-foot-high fence will not impact the adjacent properties. Granting the variance of a 4-foot-high fence will not impact adjacent land uses. The standard is met. That the application shall not have created the problem for which the variance is being sought. The zoning ordinance requires pools to have a 5-foot-high fence with a self-locking gate. Installing the pool with a 4-foot-high fence initiated the request to permit the existing 4-foot-high fence. The standard is not met.
Mr. Chairman, have we received any letters with regard to support or deference?
There's a few. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this and then we'll discuss it. That granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest and that the spirit of this ordinance will be observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done for both the applicant and other property owners in the district. Enclosing the pool with a 5-foot-high fence is required by the zoning ordinance for safety purposes. Standard is not met. The zoning ordinance requires pool to be enclosed with a 5-foot fence and a self-locking gate. The property owner does not have the option to install a 5-foot fence deep enough to enclose the pool without installing a 5-foot-high fence the entire length of the rear yard. As not all of the conditions of the variance have been met, and based on Planning Commission concerns with safety with a 4-foot-high fence, staff recommends denial.
I'd like to read into the record a couple of letters of support from Brian Bechtold, must be close neighbor, and Harold Emmons, who already spoke. With that being said, would you accept the motion?
At this time, I'll accept the motion.
Due to the staff's recommendation of denial and all standards not being met, I would make the motion we deny the request for a 4-foot fence. And
Support?
I'll support.
Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Lyons,
Yes.
Board Member Larrabell,
I'm confused. Saying yes is to deny it or saying,
vote yes is deny,
okay,
correct?
yes.
Board Member DeWitt,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mulligan,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for Jeff and Michelle Jarosevic to construct an accessory building in the front yard, a variance from the zoning ordinance section 3.130F, subsection 1, subsection A, to construct an accessory building 720 square feet in size instead of the permitted 648 square feet. A variance from zoning ordinance section 3.130F, subsection 5. The parcel is described as number 700310300035, commonly known as 17421 West Spring Lake Road. If anyone has any public comments, please come up and just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Nancy Myers. I live at 17437 West Spring Lake Road. I'm the very exact neighbor. I'm hoping that this board is supportive of all the landowners in this community and would protect all of us. I've had a lot of bad things happen on my property. I've had people all around me build on wetlands. And I've called the Drain Commission, and they said, people can't build there, it's wetlands. Suddenly, there's 4 houses there. I contacted the Ferrisburg. No one did nothing. I'm on the border of Spring Lake Township. Nobody did nothing. Then, as you well know, Joe Lyons used to be my neighbor. And he got a zoning permit to put a building up. I went on vacation to Beaver Island, and suddenly there were 6 dump trucks going down my driveway, filling in my ditch, so he could construct that building. And everybody was okay with that. Because of the houses being around me built without putting above ground septic tanks in, my property is all contaminated. On one whole side of my property, the whole back, I've lost over 30 trees. The water is this deep, and none of those people have above ground septic tanks. And it was wetlands. It's frightening to me that there's always consequences to all these changes that people do. And it affects the landowners around. Now, I don't even know my neighbors, but I was shocked when I woke up to a pickleball being built right next door to me that wakes me up at 8 o'clock in the morning from a dead sleep. That's how loud it is. I don't think they should be allowed in private property. It's something that should be in a public place. And it's appalling to me that I wasn't even contacted about it. And it was put in. So you're talking about a 25 by 28-foot building? Where's the plans? I'd like to see that. And is it 2 stories, 1 story, 3 stories? Because I'm watching this around here in Perrysburg. We don't want to be Spring Lake. We don't want to be Grand Haven. I used to ride my horse down the middle of West Spring Lake Road when I was a child. And what has changed on West Spring Lake Road is shocking to me, with all the wetlands being built on, and no one's doing anything about it. These are filtration systems for our lakes. That's what they do. They filter the water so that it can go into Spring Lake, and Spring Lake can filter it to go into the Great Lakes. When that doesn't happen, and all this sewage is going into it, and no one cares, everybody's so into the environment, but right here in our own town, no one's doing anything about it. So another issue is, when he built that building, he blocked off my drainage system. The other neighbors blocked off my drainage system, so now my property floods. We have a big ditch between our properties. I have to clean that ditch out every year. I take 2 dump trucks of stuff out of that ditch every year, which the city doesn't do anything about it. It doesn't even clean the drain. Well, in fact, they were over there trying to turn the water off. They didn't have no idea, or try to find the drain. They had no idea they were going to start digging it up till we showed them where it was, because it's never been cleaned out. Consequently, it all floods. So this stream that goes between our properties goes on my property, goes on their property, goes back and forth. How am I going to know if they're going to fill that ditch in and then I don't have any drainage at all? It's the only drainage I have for my whole property. I used to have 4. I only have 1 now. It's very concerning to me, because my barns will flood, my backyard will flood, and it came up to a foot, up to my doorstep, a foot from my doorstep, a couple years ago. You were over there, you seen it. Remember when you came over? You seen how it was flooded. I'm just very concerned about all this construction that's going on around here, and it seems like if you have a certain amount of money, you can just do whatever you want. It's shocking to me. Now, as far as their house is new, and Jeff Gale built that house, I believe, didn't they look at the ordinances that they had to have the building in back of their property instead of the front of their property? This building, I don't know how old it is, maybe 2 years old or 3 years old. I would think that him being a builder, because he's a builder that's been around here for a long time. I grew up on Spring Lake since I was a child, so I know a lot of the builders around here, and I would think that he would know all the ordinances. And why wasn't that brought up before that? I just don't understand it. I really don't. But I have to, everything that happens with me, like I put my salon in, it was a big fight to put my salon in, even though I own 9 acres. There was parking, there was everything, because it was too much traffic. Suddenly there's a Gables there with 50 cars there coming in and out, and that's not a problem. But it was a problem for me to have 8 people come over my house once. So it just doesn't make sense to me that how some people can do what they want and other people have to comply by all these rules. I thank you for your time.
Your Honor?
Nancy? Sorry.
Would you like to see a print of what they're proposing?
I think I see is this existing ditch
But is this
behind the?
Yes, and that is a 6-foot ditch.
Okay.
Craig, is that The city,
And I believe that they were told when they built their house that that ditch can never be moved or changed. So, but this, some of the,
you can take that and take that with. Craig, is that a county drain or city drain or anything that we maintain?
It's not a county drain, no.
The city
I think it
drain?
used to be.
Yeah. It's just a ditch that drains that water back there, the properties back there.
There are a number of, Mr. Jordan owned that property, and the Jordan family owned it for many, many years. And there are a number of ditches that were dug, and I don't think there was ever well, at the time that they were dug, there was no city government. And I would say that probably goes back to the 50s or something like that, when that was done. So
And you filled in 2 of them.
Any other public comments? No? It is 7:35 and I will close the public hearing at this point. And I will read the city planner's memo into the record.
You can if you want.
yeah, you're the property owner? Yeah, by all means.
Certainly.
You have any sardines?
If you got something to say, now's the time to say it.
Absolutely. Well, you've read the packet, so you know what I'm asking for, but Jeff Jurosik, 17421 West Spring Lake Road. Yeah, I bought the house, or bought the property 2.5 years ago. I built a brand new home. You're correct, Jeff Gale built it. It's a very wet property. I don't have a basement, it's a slab. Built it up just to put the slab on it. So I'm very, very conscious of the water problems around me. You see the drawing shows this ditch that Nancy's talking about. It won't be affecting it at all, and don't want to. It does fill up with water quite heavily during this. On the other side of the property, you see another drawing. On the same drawing, it shows the same problem on the other side, where the 9 acres adjacent to Nancy drains into in between my property and our neighbor's property. So both sides of my property get wet. So again, that's one of the main purposes. I don't want to put the garage backyard, because it's going to affect that wetland, that lowland on that side of the property. And secondly, I built the house. The lot's 410 feet deep. I built the house 166 feet back on purpose to take advantage of an open area back there where there were no trees, so I didn't have to cut down too many trees. So I'm conscious of that as well. And because of that, I always wanted to put the garage in the front, and I didn't know that I couldn't until I decided to build a garage, and then I realized it's supposed to be in the backyard. Well, can't go in the backyard. It's very difficult to get to. It's going to affect the wetlands. So I looked at the best place to put it. That would be in the front yard, and it's going to be 188 feet off the street, which is further back to the north than my other 2 neighbors. And you see their dimensions on the drawing as well. So, and the reason I want it to be a little bit bigger than what I'm allowed, my house, I didn't build a big house. That's my retirement home, so I didn't build a big house, and 40% of my small house isn't a very big garage. And I want to put my boat in there and things, so I need a little extra room. So I'm asking for 4.4% more square footage than I'm allowed, so that I can fit my trailer and boat.
Was that the only way the boat was gonna fit?
It's the only way. Boat and trailer are 28 feet. Building at least 30-foot building. Inside dimensions only going to be what, 27, 80 feet. So I'm barely fitting. So I'm trying to keep it as small as possible.
And what's the other dimension on the?
24 by 30. 720. The house is 1,620, so 40% was 650, rounding it off. So I'm asking for an extra 70 square feet to accommodate my cars and different.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And I just ask how tall this building is?
Standard
you
14
got the
foot.
print right
I
in
can't
front
go
of
any
you.
higher than, that's-
I just couldn't find them.
my house is probably 17 foot, so it's not even gonna be as tall as my house.
All right, so we're gonna close the public hearing now at 7:39. And I'm going to read the city planner's memo into the record. The reference parcel is located in an RG1 zone district, has 170 feet of street frontage and 410 feet in depth. The applicant is requesting a variance to construct an accessory building in the front yard and 720 square feet in size instead of the 648 square feet. Standards for granting a variance. No variance in the provisions or requirements of this ordinance shall be authorized by the Zoning Board of Appeals unless it is found from the evidence that all of the following conditions exist. That compliance with the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties due to exceptional narrowness or exceptional, extraordinary, or unique characteristics or conditions of the land or parcel, such as exceptional narrowness of the width or depth of a lot or parcel or in a regular shape. Exceptional natural or topographical features located on the lot or parcel, such as a steep slope, water, existing significant trees, or other unique extreme physical conditions of the land. Extraordinary location of an existing building or structure that allows no practical or feasible location for expansion because of the exceptional features of the land. D, the exception or other exceptional or extraordinary dimensional conditions or characteristics of land, lot, or parcel. The property is unique due to the size of the parcel. Standard is met. That the unusual circumstances do not apply to most other lots or parcels in the same manner or to the exact extent to other lots or parcels in the same zoning district. The house sits 266 feet from the street. The typical front yard setback in an RG1 zoning district is 25 feet. The standard is met. That the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right, the possibility of increased financial return of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The possibility of increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. The accessory building will allow the property owner space to store items inside, which will protect their investments. The standard is met. That the granting of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent and nearby land uses and properties. The proposed accessory building will be a setback 188 feet from the street and ought not to impact adjacent properties. The standard is met. That the applicant shall not have created the problem for which the zoning variance is being sought. One may be able to argue that the property owner is creating the problem by constructing the accessory building in the front yard and larger than the zoning variance. The zoning ordinance regulates the size, height, and placement of accessory buildings. However, the zoning ordinance contemplates these regulations for a typical residential parcel and not parcels approximately 2 acres in size. Board's discretion on whether the standard is met. That the granting of the variance will not be contrary to public interest in the spirit of this ordinance shall be observed, public safety secured, substantial justice done for both applicant and other property owners in the district. The applicant has worked to set the accessory building in a location that ought not to impact neighbors and is set back further than most houses in the RG1 zoning district. The building will match the architecture of the house, and proposed improvements will allow the property owner to store items inside. This will not only benefit the property owner, but also the neighborhood with less items in the open. The standard is met. Staff recommends approval.
Your Honor, I would make a motion that we approve the request filed by Jeff and Michelle Drosik for both variances. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman? Given the unusual circumstances of my having lived a number of years ago adjacent to the complaining interest here, I'd like to recuse my vote.
Right. Do we need to do anything for that?
Does someone second the motion?
I didn't second the motion.
Okay. I'll second it. Roll call vote, please.
Board Member LaBelle?
No.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes.
Vice Chair Mulligan?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Moving on to agenda item 9. Public hearing for a request filed by Gary and Deborah Rose to construct an accessory building, which will result in lot coverage of 44.47% instead of the permitted 35%. A variance from zoning ordinance section 9.150. The parcel is described as parcel number 700315105033, commonly known as 16611 Lakeview Avenue. Invite anybody to come up and state name and address for the record, please.
Gary Rose, 16611 Lakeview Street. And for the record, I have eaten sardines out of the roll-up can. Okay. So what we're looking to do is just build a 10 by 12 potting shed. My wife is an avid florist, and particularly roses. But we're looking to build a 10 by 12 potting shed. It would be sitting on treated. It's not got a foundation. It would just be sitting on, and there's pictures in there, I think, of I've got a rock section. It would be sitting on that rock section with a 4x4 base with a treated platform as well. So it'd be potentially movable. We were planning to put a gutter and a downspout on the back side. It's a one slanted shed. A gutter, downspout on the back side with a rain barrel on the corner. Right now, all that rain is absorbed into that rock section. It'd be sitting on that section. But essentially now I'd capture a lot of that rain with a gutter and a downspout and a rain barrel. And my wife's going to use that to water a lot of her flowers. A lot of her flowers are irrigated and some are not. And she just keeps buying more roses and planting more roses. So that's the project essentially. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any questions?
No, I just want to comment that I did visit your residence the other day and knocked on your door. No one was home. Peeked over the fence, and I did look at some very pretty roses. And I would have to say that it looks, he's describing the situation as I noted it.
I like that he's capturing the rainwater because that's the big issue in that lot coverage. And everybody in that neighborhood has problems at water. And the more buildings we put up, the more water gets diverted. But if you're catching the water that's coming off I think that's a good idea.
That's what I noted too. I was like, well, he's going to handle the runoff issue, which is the obvious question we always ask, and it's a good way to do it and put it to use.
Your Honor, I'd like to put in the record that we've already approved 2 variances on this property already. Yeah, well, I'm working on it.
All right.
So the 44% lot coverage, Craig, are we still within the legalities?
35%, right?
So he received a variance to have 44.26% lot coverage. With the new addition, it would raise it up to 44.47. It's about 0.2%.
All right, thank you.
Any further public comment?
Stu Urbantrout, 16621 Lakeview, Perrysburg. I am a neighbor to the Roses. I wanted to give you a little history on that property. What was there was an older house, had 3 garages. One was underneath the master bedroom, Second one was a standalone that was 14-foot wide, 12-foot high, and went the full width of the house, and was in disrepair. The third one was even worse, and it was about 12-foot wide and 12-foot high, and went almost the full width of the house. And outside of that were lilac bushes that they were about 12-foot high. Between the garages and the bushes, and on the west side of the property, there were 30 to 40-foot high trees blocking views. What they have right now as open views, this 10-foot high shed, I don't believe it's going to really hurt anybody's view as far as that goes. So it's definitely an improvement. It's going to set on that gravel or crushed rock base, which has already been there for 2.5 years. And they're going to capture that rain. So it's not going to be a problem. I'm not worried about any water issue coming into my property. So as far as the coverage goes, that, what is it, 0.2% or so, really isn't going to make a big difference. And all the improvements that they've made to that lot, that property, have really helped the neighborhood. It makes my house look a little small, but still, I fully support this shed.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? The time is 7:51, and I will go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Reading the city planner's memo. The reference property is located in the RG1 zone district and the Inland Lakefront Overlay District. Parcel has 80.8 feet of street frontage on Lakeview Street and 120 feet on Doric Avenue. On September 19th, 2019, the property owner on the north of the Rose parcel received a variance to reduce his street frontage by 2 feet. The 2 feet by 80-foot strip of land was deeded to the Rose parcel. On September 30th, 2019, the applicant received variances for 1.5 foot east front yard and a 9.5 foot rear yard, and for 37.02% lot coverage. On August 13th, 2020, the applicant received a variance for 44.25% lot coverage. The proposed 10-foot by 12-foot accessory building will increase the lot coverage to 44.47%.
So this is saying that they were over on their lot coverage.
We received a variance previously to have 44.24.
Okay. Yep.
Sure.
Public comments.
That very.
Thank you. Regarding the Rose request, standards for granting of variance. No variance in the provisions or requirements of this ordinance shall be authorized by the Zoning Board of Appeals unless it is found from the evidence that all of the following conditions exist. That compliance with the zoning ordinance result in practical difficulties due to exceptional, extraordinary, or unique characteristics or conditions to land or parcel, such as exceptional narrowness of the width or depth of a lot or parcel, or irregular shape. Exceptional natural or topographical features located on the lot or parcel, such as steep slopes, water, existing significant trees, or other unique or extreme physical conditions of the land. Extraordinary location of an existing building or structure that allows no other practical or feasible location for expansion because of the exceptional features of the land. Other exceptional or extraordinary dimensional conditions or characteristics of land, lot, or parcel. The typical lot size in the RG1 zone district is 10,000 square feet. The Rose parcel is 9,600 square feet. The standard is met. That the unusual circumstances do not apply to most other lots or parcels in the same manner or to the same extent other lots or parcels in the same zoning district. The parcel is less square footage than the typical RG1 zone district parcel. The standard is met. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right. The possibility of increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. The accessory building will allow the property owner space to store items inside, which will protect their investment. The standard is met. That the granting of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent and nearby land uses or properties. The proposed accessory building ought not impact adjacent properties. Standard is met. That the applicant shall not have created the problem for which the variance is being sought. One may be able to argue that the property owner is creating the problem by constructing an accessory building. However, the property owner has worked to keep stormwater from the accessory building on site. Board's discretion on whether the standard is met. That the granting of the variance shall not be contrary to public interest, and in the spirit of this ordinance shall be observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done for both the applicant and the other property owners in the district. The request will have no adverse impact of public health, safety, and welfare, and not to impact adjacent properties. The standard is met. The Inland Overlay District, Inland Lakefront District, has the following statement of purpose. The ILO Overlay District has been established to encourage the conservation and redevelopment of older waterfront residential neighborhood on Spring Lake, designated as lakefront/cottage settlement on the City of Ferrysburg Master Plan, where most existing lots and/or structures do not conform fully to the standards of the underlying zoning district. Since the area includes a wide variety of lot sizes, the intent is to support the continued use and improvement of small lot, single-family homes while improving the new residential development that is consistent with the standards of the underlying zoning district. Keeping the stormwater from flowing onto adjacent properties has been addressed by the applicant. Staff recommends the variance to be approved. I'll accept any motions at this time.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve the request by Gary and Deborah Rose.
Support.
Roll call vote, please.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes.
Board Member Lyons?
Yes.
Board Member Larrabell?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mulligan?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Moving on to agenda item 11, presentation applicants for the appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to welcome Mr. Cook to the podium at this time.
Hello, I'm Dave Cook, 17605 168th Avenue. Thank you for considering my application to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate member. I grew up in Ferrysburg. I went away for college. I have a master's degree in water resources, a master's degree in geography. I have worked in the state of Wyoming, studying rural development due to a regional water system. I've also worked in upstate New York with an economic development corporation where I was involved in engineering projects ranging from rural water systems, rural sewer systems, as well as building a fiber optic network across the New York state upper region. I'm interested in this. I've had a lot of people ask me to apply for Planning Commission. That didn't work out. The next suggestion was Zoning Board of Appeals. Happy to answer any questions about my application.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to our little meeting here, and Dave is a neighbor of mine, and I would be more than happy to approve your attendance on this board. So I think he has the knowledge. I know Dave has assisted people in the community on legal and instances on various and assorted issues that we've had in the area, and I think he has the what it takes to provide us with a good judgment of what needs to be done in the city of Ferrisburgh.
Your Honor, I have a question, Dave. We just recently had that Brockmeyer thing come up. We had numerous zoning violations. You got up and spoke in favor of it. Why?
I think
job,
people,
Go
are you
ahead.
done with your question?
Go ahead.
I think people should be able to do what they want with their property within the confines of the zoning ordinance. I think that the planning commission heard the argument and that they made the best decision in terms of what's best for the city of Ferrisburgh. The zoning board of appeals, I know, wanted to hear the plan use development. The state of Michigan has a law that doesn't allow the zoning board of appeals to hear cases that involve a planned unit development unless it's allowed in the ordinance, which I don't believe the city ordinance allows that right now. Why I voted or why I spoke in support of it, David Brockmeyer is a neighbor. I think he's doing what's in the best interest of the city as well as what is the highest and most valuable use of the property.
So my question to you is, had that come to the zoning board, would you approve it?
I can't approve it myself since there are multiple members of the zoning board. I would have voted yes.
Okay, that answers my question.
Any questions?
I'm deciding if I want to speak.
All right.
I'm a close neighbor of Dave Cook, so I don't want to say anything.
Your Honor, another concern I have, we have 3 residents on the same block.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
You know, on the zoning board. I would prefer to have applicants or board members from other areas. You can understand that, Dave. I would like to see somebody from like, Coast Guard Park area on the board, simply because you get a more balanced view of what's going on. I have a real concern that you would vote to basically overturn the zoning law. That concerns me dramatically.
I don't have any response.
One thing I could say is I'm not far down the street, so you might as well make it all of us that are in that peninsula.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're all on that side of the lake.
I will make one comment. I don't see anybody else for consideration.
Your Honor, would you entertain a motion?
I'll entertain a motion at this point.
Take a motion, we deny Mr. Cook's application to the zoning board of appeals.
Roll call vote, please.
Who support?
Oh, sorry.
Support.
Roll call vote, sorry.
Board Member Lyons?
No.
Board Member Larrabell?
Yes.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mulligan?
Yes.
Thanks for applying, Dave.
Thank you.
Item 12 taken care of. On to agenda item 13, reports, comments, zoning board and members, and administrators.
No report?
Nothing? All right, well, I still have my usual one. I'm beating a dead horse. The lot next door to me still has the stuff left on it.
What was it?
The lot next to me on Lake Point Drive still has the construction heating and cooling units left on it. I think I've been bringing this up for like 6 months now, maybe 7. It's got to be since,
Email, paper
yeah. Yeah.
email.
Do you need a second to have it moved, Greg? I'll second it. Did we move it?
It took me a second there.
Anybody else?
No other comments or anything?
I
I'll
got
make
one.
a comment.
Go ahead.
I had previously asked Dave Cook not to contact me or my family, and this was about a year ago, and disobeyed that, and I felt pretty violated that he reached out to my family when I told him not to. So I've had personal problems with him surveilling the house. He puts up his camera, he tells me he, so, just, I don't like people that don't respect boundaries, and he disrespected my personal boundary, so I don't have a good feeling about him as a person on the zoning board.
Your Honor, you done?
Yep.
A couple comments. Number one, Craig, you're gonna watch that fence thing?
Yep.
Okay, the other thing is, Regina Solberg sent a letter to the planning commission on this variance that she had no, to the zoning board. She's on the planning commission. And I was kind of flabbergasted that someone on the planning commission that turned down a request to look at a variance or a change in the ordinance that would write a letter to the zoning board supporting an illegal fence. That kind of took me by surprise.
Seems slightly hypocritical.
Did I notice?
Yeah, that was not,
We know how she voted when that was brought to the planning commission?
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? All right, well.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, it just, seems like kind of, yeah, unethical maybe, I don't know. That would be my word. May or may not be unethical in your eyes, Craig, but it is in mine. Okay. That's all I got.
Mr. Lyons?
I would support what Mike has said with regard to Mrs. Soberg. And I'll just leave it at that as far as that comment is concerned. But with regard to the Brockmeyer development, I had written letters going back to April to the city with copies to the council, the planning commission, and to the zoning board with regard to my, not my objection to Mr. Brockmeyer developing his property. Certainly he has the right to do that. But my request was that there be a review amongst the city property management groups, i.e. the zoning board and the planning commission, as well as the zoning administrator, to review some of the things with regard to the PUD that was passed recently by our council. And my biggest concern is that there are a number of zoning issues that have been disregarded, hurdled over, what have you, and there was never a request on the part of anyone in the city, in the planning commission, to review those things and to discuss whether or not maybe some further variations to the plan would be helpful to the community. My biggest concern, which isn't necessarily part of the requirements or the duties of the zoning commission and or the planning commission, is what's happening to our lake. You're going to have 9 additional properties on an RG1, 2 RG1 lots that are definitely going to create more effluent that's going to end up in our lake. It's extremely close to the 100-year planning, to the 100-year floodplain, and in fact, a good portion of the water retention area of the development is actually in the floodplain. I just don't quite understand it, that could be allowed. But I'm going to suggest again, and I'm making this statement as a member of our of one of our directive agencies in this city, that future PUDs, I shouldn't say that, future considerations of a PUD by our planning commission have a segment of review of just how many zoning ordinances are being disregarded in order to develop something in our community. Enough said.
Motion to adjourn.
So heard. Time is 8:10 and meeting is adjourned. Yep.
Interesting. If you're interested in that, from the city council,